Hello everyone, it's Robin in my studio here in Los Angeles, California. Thank you for the wonderful response from last Tuesday. Almost every single one of you wanted to see how to make a bird's nest, so that's what we're going to be doing today. Plus, I also have a download for you. It's a nice, simple tutorial that you can download. It has colored pictures and the supplies on there, but I'm going to show you how to do it here as well. So, and also, you guys were so responsive to dyeing the fabrics. If this is the first time seeing this video, or if this is the first time for you seeing my channel, thank you and welcome for coming. You might want to check out the last tutorial that I did. This YouTube video is going to be in 3 parts, so I will leave the timestamps down below. The first part will be how to make the nest. The second part, I'm going to show you what I finally decided on for the last project that we worked on, and sorry that it took so long. I know there's a fine line between taking way too long to do hardly anything as opposed to me figuring it out on my own and then showing you the end result. So there has to be a happy medium in there somehow. Somebody commented on how long it was, and I know that a lot of you do like to see the process, like my thought process, but honestly, to me, also, it's very, like, if I had to watch that too, I would be like, okay, kind of wrap it up here. So I'll show you what I came up with. Next week, we will work on more of that project. It's the altered file folder, and I'm also going to show you, give you a glimpse of the Artsy Boutique that I'm having today, which will be at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's going to be in my Etsy store. Again, the link will be down below. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is actually fairly simple. I know I have some tools out here, and those of you who don't do jewelry wire wrapping, you might be able to improvise. They're actually fairly easy to get at most hobby stores. So you'll need, at least, the very least, you'll need wire cutters. I'm using round nose pliers and chain nose pliers as well, but that's because I have them and they just make the process a little quicker. You're going to need some beads. I'm using these 6mm cut Picasso green turquoise beads. You can use beads, whatever beads you want, as long as they have a hole that is big enough to accommodate your wire. The wire I'm using today is 20 gauge, and I patinaed it with a solution that I use for my stained glass projects. It's called Novacan. You can buy it kind of patinaed by using the Parawire. I don't really care for Parawire. I buy raw brass, and this is what it looks like. This is before and after the patina. But that's just my, my preference. This is 18 gauge Parawire. Artistic wire works as well. This one is 20 gauge. This one is 18. This is what it looks like with an 18 gauge, which is a heavier wire. Even though it's a heavier wire, this wire is really soft. This is the one we're going to be doing today in the raw brass that's been patinaed with the 20 gauge. So you can see there's a little bit of a difference in size. Actually, quite a big difference. And I used larger beads on this one. Also, the same technique I'm going to show you, you can use on smaller nests. You just have to make sure that your wire fits through the beads. So these are little tiny pearls and beads, but I probably used a 24 or 26 gauge wire. So let's go ahead and start. So what you're going to do is you're going to take about 2 feet. You're going to have a little bit left over, but you can use the excess to make a thicker bail like I did on this one. And you're going to take 3 of the beads and string them on the, oh wait, there's a knot on there, on the wire. And you do have to make sure your wire is fairly straight. You do not want to use memory wire. It will not work for this. You want to use wire that's fairly soft. This is what they call dead soft, the wire I'm using. Most wire you buy, like this or this, is already soft. So you're going to take, I'm trying to do this real close up so that you guys can see the detail. So if there's any kinks in the wire, sometimes it might be hard to pull the beads down. So just take your pliers and just gently smooth it out. You're going to want a tail of about 2.5 to 3 inches. And you're going to just gently curve this, because if you make the curve too tight, the beads might pop when you're threading your wire to make the nest. So, and you want it to make it kind of in a circle. I usually coil my wire similar to this so that it's already ready. So I'm just gently pulling this like this, and then I'm going to crisscross it. Not too tight, but you want to make sure that you have like a triangle of beads right here. And this might be a little wonky. I just put some lotion on, so everything's kind of slippery. So the shape of this is kind of oval. That means the shape that I'm going to be finally making will be a little bit oval. So just be cognizant of that. I might try to straighten it out a little bit here. So I'm just going to keep it like that. And you can see there's a little bit, it's a little bit loose. That's good. So now we're going to take your round nose pliers. These are small round nose pliers, by the way. And you're going to insert it into, and hold both of the wires. And you're going to take the tail, the small tail of this one, like that, like that. The longer wire will be wrapped once tightly on the base, just like that. And I can tell this is going to be a little wonky because this is an oval shape. I mean, you can't help for it to be a little bit of an oval shape, but these ones were a little bit more circular. So each one will be a little bit different. So now what you're going to do is you're going to kind of coax the wire to start curving, and we're going to wrap the wire gently around the beads once on the top. So you're going to alternate the front and the back. We're going to do this 4 times. So I'm going to go towards the back. Actually, I'm going to keep it in the front. And then I'm going to go towards the back. So I keep wrapping and wrapping. Now I'm going to go towards the back. So you want the stem of this to be in between 2 wraps on the front and 2 wraps on the back. And I explain that also in the tutorial down below, the PDF that you can download. Now I'm going to go in the front again. And you can see I'm really holding this tight. You don't want to keep this really loose. By holding the beads this way, you're kind of keeping this wrap close as much as possible to the beads in the front. So this is the 3rd one, and then the 4th one is going to go towards the back. Those of you who like things to be perfect, you're going to have to throw that out the window. These are not going to be perfect. By the way, this is not something new, this technique. It's been around for several years. I think I learned how to do it kind of on my own, just by looking at it. And then I took a class with Nina Bagley. Those of you who love jewelry know who she is. And that's how I made these little, these are sterling silver ones here. These are a little bit different with the earring hook on it. And I also made a cute little basket out of sterling silver. Okay, so now I have 4 wraps on there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So it should look like this. So here's the short tail, and then you still have quite a bit of tail on here of wire. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your, you can either take your round nose or your chain nose, and you're going to make, go flush to the end of the little wire here, and you're just going to push it to the side at a 90-degree angle. Now you're going to take your round nose pliers and you're going to make a loop. So that little, this little part is called the neck, the part that we just bent right here, and that gives you just enough to form a thick wrap onto your bail here. So now you're going to take this and wrap it around like that. Now you have an eye on there. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Hold on to the eye, either with your chain nose or your round nose, and wrap that little tail on that neck. You guys have no idea how hard this is with a camera and trying to make sure that it's focused. And you can either cut that little tail off or you can keep moving it until it's completely I'm just going to cut the rest of that off because we're going to be taking the rest of this tail, and you can see there's quite a bit. We're going to be wrapping that soon here in a sec. So we have a bail, an instant bail on there. You can either do it in the at that point or towards the end. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and wrap the wire 3 times on each section. So you can kind of look at it and say, okay, I'm going to do a triple wrap here, a triple wrap here, and then maybe on the side, just to kind of keep it symmetric and somewhat. It's not going to be perfect, like I said. And what you don't really want to do is you don't want to go in between where the beads are. It doesn't really work, because I'll show you what happens when you do that. It has a different look and it splays out the beads. If you like that look, you can do that, but you might have a tendency to break the beads, because each time you wrap 3 in between, you're giving less room for the last one. So this is kind of what you're going to end up doing instead. Okay. So when you're doing this wrap, just kind of be cognizant of the wire. This is going to be the front and this is going to be the back. And you want to try to keep that back wire back there. You're not going to pull it. You're going to kind of push it in there. You can pull it towards the end when we're on the 3rd triple wrap. This is where your round nose come in handy. So you're going to kind of just twist it in. See that? And you're gonna have to futz with it before you do the next one. I'm going to just twist it a little bit more. And you might be saying, well, why don't you just pull it? If you pull it, you're gonna start distorting your wrap all the way around the piece, the nest that you just made. Now you're gonna do it 2 more times, and you're gonna keep doing this until it's done. And I'm just pushing this in, and then when you can't push it anymore with your fingers, that's where you're going to take your round nose pliers and you're just going to twist it in the same way that you are attaching it. Now you can take your chain nose and kind of push those together. And I'm going to do this a little bit more because it's kind of popping out. And now you can just give it a little bit of a tug. You just don't want to keep tugging on every single one because you will distort everything. And again, I'm going to go one more time. So this will be my triple wrap on one side here. I'm going to do it here and on this side as well. Just kind of keep doing this. I'm going to show you the whole thing. If you want to just fast forward, you can, but those of you who this is new to, I'm going to do the whole thing in real time. Sometimes when you're new to something, you need to see every single step from start to finish. And you just have to be kind of gentle with your pliers. You don't want to push it too hard. You'll start to mar your wire, especially if you have teeth on your pliers. Real jewelry pliers don't have teeth on them, but if you happen to have pliers that do, you really want to make sure that you don't press down too much. So the first triple wrap should look like that. Now I'm going to do one right here on this side and then one right here. And again, you don't want to go inside here. You want to go on the outside of that. So this wire is going to want to curve over. Try to keep it towards the back, like that. Now you're going to want to pull this. That's going to be your instinct, but just try to keep just working it with the pliers here. So you see the wire kind of lays on the back instead of laying on the front. It'll have a tendency to kind of almost bunch up against this. You don't want that. You want to try to keep them separate. So I'm just going to move this to the side a little bit. And now I'm going to pull it just a little, and I'm going to keep making my wrap right next to this one here. So it's getting too hard to push with my fingers, so now I'm going to take my round nose and the wire's starting to get hard. That's what happens when you work with wire. It gets to what they call work hardened, and so you'll notice that it won't want to move quite as easily. So then you might have to strong arm it just a little bit now with your chain nose. So I'm going to push this down. And you see I'm taking the wire and I'm trying to make sure it's going to be in position for the next wrap. You're the boss of your wire, so kind of tell it where you want it to go. So see what's happening now? This moved too close, so I'm going to manually move these two wraps down here because it's going to be too bunched up. Of course, this is happening on camera, and this didn't happen to me when I was making my samples, because I literally had to remind myself how to make these. It had been so long, so I made a few samples. Well, I might just have to deal with that because it's pretty stiff, and if I try to manipulate it too much, it might distort the whole thing. Let me just try here. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. So it could be that I might do 4. I'm not sure if I have enough wire, but we'll see here. So I want to push this wire towards the back. And now I can start pulling it a little bit more because it won't get too distorted now that I've been working with it. So I just move that back there and I can pull it now. So yeah, I'm going to wind up doing 4, which is fine. So I have 3 on there. There's 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do a 4th one closer to the top up here. Going to move my wire more towards where I want it to be for the last strap. Looks kind of cute. Everyone's going to be different. So now I am pulling it because I'm already to the point where it's okay to pull it. But in the very beginning, you don't really want to do that because everything will become too tight. Okay, so now I have a little extra here, and this little extra can make a really big bail on here like these. Like this one, it looks like I had a lot of leftover wire. So I'm going to just take this and wrap it at the very base, and I'm going to just wrap it tightly around it. I wish I didn't put lotion on my hands before. I don't want my hands to look dry whenever that's one of the things I try to make sure my hands don't look so dried out when I do these tutorials. But working with wire and lotion is kind of difficult. So if you don't want this big bail, you can just cut it off. I'm going to cut a little bit off of this because it's a little bit too much. But that's it, you guys. If this is something new to you, I would start out with a big wire to start with. It's a little bit easier to manage. Plus, this is really soft, super soft. It's called Parawire. It's very prominent, very much available. Not sure if they have it at the hobby stores, but try Etsy. Usually comes in a bazillion different colors, so you could have lots of fun colors if you wanted to. These are, you do want to make sure at the very end that the back is going to be towards the back of your charm. And you can just take your chain nose and just kind of dig in the little end there so that it kind of blends into the back and won't catch on to anything. Alright, so here is the part of the altar file folder that we started. It took me several hours just to come up with this composition, and you can go back and see how long it took me just to come up with the basic foundation from last Tuesday's tutorial. And I decided I'm not gonna, it was just way too long for me to show you me taking things off, putting them back on, and off and on and off and on. It took me a couple of hours to finally come up with this. So I will walk you through it. The basic, I haven't glued this down yet. So I had showed you some things that I wanted to put underneath to kind of peek through. So that's what I did. I sewed a strip just to add some texture. And what I did was I was pulling the colors from her kimono. So it's a culmination of this kind of mulberry, cranberry color with splashes of peach color and a little bit of this khaki green, and then interspersed with ivories. So the bottom of this is very old wallpaper, and it kind of looks like this. I have a ton of it. It's these really beautiful colors. I'm not really sure how old it is, but there's no name on it. It's kind of stained, but I've had it forever. So unfortunately, I was really wanting to put a few kits together that were kind of this color theme, with that being one of the things added, but it's really late on Monday night, and there's no way, unless I didn't go to bed, that I could put together kits and have them available for sale tomorrow for my Artsy Boutique. So hopefully I'll get that done for the next Artsy Boutique. So this is going to still open here when it's glued down, so I will be able to put a journal in there, and we're going to make a journal that goes inside of here. The thing with this is, when I was putting it together, you could have stopped from the last tutorial that I showed you, and it would have been just very pretty, very simple. But it's either simple or just go all out, and as you can see, I went all out. I may even add more, who knows, but that's kind of my process. And by looking at the color scheme, I was able to pull together random items that kind of made everything cohesive. So it's the thought process, but it's a lot of subtraction and addition when I'm putting something together. So there's just a ton of layers. I just made frilly lace flowers, and this one is bent in half. There's some hug snug, some fancy yarn here, some vintage velvet millinery. This is just a paper flower here, tatting or crochet. And this is from Tim Holtz. And this is one of those shrinky dinks that I made in one of my videos with red lead rubber stamp. And then just a mishmash of different layers here of vintage fabrics and laces. And so yeah, I like the way it came out, and I'm excited to keep working on it. I want to add more little hidden things to put inside here and in the pocket, and I might even do a flap on the back that will open, or maybe another pocket here. There's just so many fun things that you can do with this. So that's that. And I'm just gonna, the Artsy Boutique is today. And it's not as much stuff as I would have liked, but I will show you what will be in there. I will be selling this. This is what I made probably about a month ago. And it's the buttonhole stitch, I think that's what it was, binding, and I added these beads to it. I have a whole tutorial on how to make this. It's actually all made from recycled materials with some vintage snippets of lace and doilies. And it's actually usable. You can write in it or draw or paint. It's a mishmash of different papers. Some watercolor, some vintage book pages, parchment paper. Oh, there's a bead in there. So yeah, you can find my tutorial on this as well, on how to make this, in one of my videos. So that's going to be for sale tomorrow at about 5 p.m. in my Etsy store. The link will be down below. I'm going to be selling these tassels that I just got through making. So I have the fairy tassel, and there's more pictures on the tutorial that I did with close-ups. So it's a very long tassel. It's more decorative. You could probably put it on an altered file folder. It would just be, you know, for decoration. And then this one also. This one's going to be for sale in my Etsy store with the Shrinky Dinks, my favorite moon. It's stamped on both sides. So again, this could be used for an altered file folder or a really big journal. And they both have the bulb pins on them. And these are old 45s. I bought them originally from a thrift store because I liked the graphics, and I was going to take copies of them, but I never did, and I'm just cleaning stuff out. So I just think the graphics are super cool. They do actually have the 45s in here. I don't know if they're all in here. Yeah, that one's missing. I'm going to sell them as a set. It's going to be a really good price. But they're classics. Just really cool graphics. And let's see. Yeah, it looks like all of them are in here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So thanks everybody for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure to get the PDF down below. There's a link, a free PDF. It's a pretty, it took me a while to figure out how to do it. It looks really nice. Unfortunately, one of the links for the beads doesn't work on the actual PDF, so I will put a link down below for the beads that I used for the little tiny nests. Those of you who make jewelry know what these are. They're from the Czech Republic. They're a cut glass bead with a Picasso finish, and it's a green turquoise. They're very easy to find. It's not hard to find them. Okay, I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.